This is CBC Vancouver News.
You better believe this message that we're sending today is one that's going to get the attention of those carriers who would otherwise exhibit carelessness on our roads.
Steeper fines and stiffer punishments are coming for truck drivers and companies who hit overpasses in BC. Plus,
it was a great weight taken away from my shoulders.
A blind Maple Ridge woman wins a human rights complaint over an intersection and bus stop in her city. And
it's a huge, huge part of my life. Always will be.
love for Lou. The Vancouver Canucks are putting former goalie and team captain Roberto Luongo into their Ring of Honor. Good evening, I'm Dan Burritt. Thanks for joining us. Hundreds of pro-Palestinian demonstrators gathered outside a downtown Vancouver hotel tonight, where Prime Minister Justin Trudeau was hosting a private fundraiser. They're calling on him to cut off Canadian military support for Israel.
Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now!
The demonstration was organized in part by the group Independent Jewish Voices and included a menorah lighting to mark the 8th and final day of Hanukkah. It and several other groups called for Trudeau to act on the recent UN resolution for a permanent ceasefire and for a, quote, end to the occupation of Palestine. Police were on hand outside the Weston Bay Shore as the Prime Minister spoke to Liberal Party supporters inside.
The future is all about change right now. It's all disruption. And that's why it's so important for us to pull together as a team, roll up our sleeves and lean in on the work that needs doing.
Canada was among 153 countries that voted for the non-binding UN resolution that calls for a, quote, immediate humanitarian ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas war. One person has been rushed to hospital tonight after what police call a targeted shooting in North Delta. Police say it happened on 82nd Avenue near 110th Street just before 6 p.m. Emergency Health Services says it took one person to hospital in critical condition. Delta police say they believe the shooting is tied to gangs and there is no risk to the public right now. They're asking any witnesses or anyone with video to contact them. 82nd Avenue is closed between 110th and 112th Street. After dozens of strikes, massive damage, and huge delays on our roads, the BC government is introducing new legislation to prevent semi-trucks from crashing into overpasses, a problem that's become alarmingly apparent over the past 2 years. As Michelle Gassoub explains, fines are going up, and the stakes for repeat offenders are getting much higher.
Scenes like these might look like something out of a summer blockbuster, but they're all too real events that have played out 29 times in BC over the past 2 years. Semi-trailer trucks crashing into overpasses at high speeds, with some of the overpasses hit over and over again.
We're introducing stronger deterrents for those very few, and I want to stress very few, outliers, those very few unsafe commercial drivers and the companies that employ them.
Now the province is cracking down, introducing new fines and quadrupling others, making them the highest in Canada. It says out of over 16,000 operators in the province, just 12 companies are responsible for most of the crashes. Those repeat offenders will face a steep consequence.
Your company could be grounded entirely. This includes outright cancellation of their carrier safety certificate, which would effectively prevent the company from operating in BC.
And we have to remove this element of complacency and elevate the attention being paid to make sure that these incidents don't happen again.
The incidents have happened all over the Lower Mainland and as far north as Fort St. John. This truck driving instructor says some drivers fail to weigh their loads, others change their planned route throughout the day and forget to account for overpasses.
Around the Lower Mainland here, there's really only one scale, and that's down at Nordell. The next scale is in Hope. So that's why these events are going unchecked here locally, but it still goes right back to the dispatcher not taking the proper precautions.
The crashes aren't just dangerous for those nearby, they also result in major road congestion and hefty repairs that can take months to complete.
Having your entire fleet grounded, pending a safety audit, for example, will cost tens, possibly hundreds of thousands of dollars in business.
While taking the proper precautions could mean going out of the way for some, it could also prevent a pileup of issues down the road, something the province hopes the new measures coming into effect in April will prevent. Michelle Gassoub, CBC News, Vancouver.
If you have used LifeLabs in the past few years, you may be eligible for compensation up to $150. The lab testing company is settling a multi-million-dollar class action lawsuit after a 2019 cyber attack compromised the data of millions of customers, most of them here in BC and in Ontario. Anyone who was a LifeLabs customer on or before December 17th, 2019 can file a claim form until April at lifelabssettlement.kpmg.ca. Construction is well underway on a new healthcare research centre in Vancouver. The building will have a combined floor space of about 370,000 square feet and be right next to the new St. Paul's Hospital, also under construction. Premier David Eby toured the facility today. He says it will be used for cutting-edge research and the development of new medicines and treatments.
This building, with 49 daycare spaces in it, is not just a building. It is the future of healthcare in British Columbia, and it is the future of healthcare internationally as we take our place, as we should have a long time ago, as one of the international leaders in health sciences.
The total cost of the project is estimated at $638 million. It's expected to open in 2027. A blind Maple Ridge woman is celebrating a human rights win over that city. She filed a complaint against the municipality, arguing an intersection and bus stop near her home were not accessible and impinged on her freedom. BC's Human Rights Tribunal recently ruled in her favor. As John Hernandez reports, the city has opted not to appeal and will make changes to the area.
I was quite amazed because I've never done something like this before.
In 6 months' time, Maria Kovacs should feel a lot more comfortable waiting at this bus stop or crossing this street.
It's all done very poorly and without consideration for people like me that is totally blind.
She's won a human rights complaint against Maple Ridge, ordering the city to make this area safer for blind residents like her.
It was a great weight taken away from my shoulders.
A few years ago, the city of Maple Ridge installed a bike lane here that merges onto the sidewalk. A hazard for Kovacs, who has no way of knowing where the bike lane is and if cyclists are coming. The city had also revamped this intersection, but these truncated yellow mats meant to help guide the blind across the street safely instead lead right into the middle of the intersection. So Kovacs filed a human rights complaint in 2018.
With all this kind of obstacles in my way, it impedes my mobility, it impedes my freedom to walk independently, which I like very much.
It's just not made properly, and if you're blind and you're using, for instance, a cane, you will get yourself lost.
Her friend Matt Sally, who is also blind, served as a witness.
With the amount of traffic that's in this area, it was just a matter of time before somebody was going to get very seriously injured or killed.
The tribunal ruled in Kovacs' favor in October, ordering Maple Ridge to make changes and pay her $35,000. The city had 2 months to appeal, but decided not to this week. In a statement, it said it's committed to serving the needs of everyone and will carry out the fix with the help of a mobility consultant.
What I really hope is that the different communities involve the blind in what they're doing. Nothing for us without us.
Changes must be made here in 6 months. A big win these residents hope ripples throughout BC to make it a more accessible home for everyone. John Hernandez, CBC News, Maple Ridge.
More than 13,000 British Columbians have now been killed since the province declared a public health emergency over toxic drugs in 2016. The Premier says his government is now renewing efforts to address that fight next year.
It's horrific to think about that death toll, and the coroner has been on the front lines of meeting with families, talking with those left behind about the loss of loved ones, of fathers, mothers, sisters, brothers. It is an awful situation our province faces.
Trevor Tablotny is one.
All right, great. Thanks, man. 36-year-old Curtis Tablotny died from an overdose while playing video games alone, just days before Christmas last year.
We always knew that could happen because we were aware that the drugs were becoming more toxic, and we had saved him from overdoses before.
She says before his death, Curtis suffered 7 overdoses. Each time, the family had to administer naloxone to save his life.
In Richmond, we think that it's not happening here. It's a downtown east side homeless crisis, and it's not.
A bench dedicated to Curtis can be found in Minaroo Park in Richmond, just blocks from where he once worked as an insurance broker. His older brother Trevor sitting on that bench today, spreading awareness to those who pass by.
I feel like the stigma around drug use is what is getting people killed, and so opening up to the public, having a conversation is, putting a face to the overdose story, sure, but it's just offering an opportunity to have kind and open conversation. And so that's why I'm here reflecting, and it's been very emotional.
An unrestored car that belonged to Curtis is displayed near the bench. It reads Curtis's dream. The trunk filled with naloxone kits.
There's instructions in the kit.
Even when we did get him treatment, it really wasn't that helpful because the doctors would take him in and then they would release him a couple days later. It was frustrating and it's sad.
Curtis's fiance says when she sits inside the car, the memories and heartache intensifies.
Now it's like a big hole in my heart, and trying to put the glue in every piece is broken in my heart for him, but I know that I never got to forget him.
As he went deeper into his addiction, the car sat. And I begged him to get rid of it. I wanted it off the driveway. And he said, no, it's my dream car.
Now the family hopes this car will be a vehicle for change, spreading awareness wherever it goes. Janella Hamilton, CBC News, Richmond.
The province says the toxic drug supply has also contributed significantly to an increased number of deaths among those who are unhoused. The BC government says 342 people experiencing homelessness were reported dead to the coroner last year. That's a 138% increase in the past 2 years. Vancouver, Victoria, and Surrey have seen the highest number of deaths between 2015 and 2022. Vancouver City Councillors have approved changes to the bylaws aimed at revitalizing downtown entertainment districts and boosting the number of businesses that can offer alcohol. The changes do away with some limits to accessing liquor. They include lifting a ban on new liquor establishments in some areas, allowing some businesses to increase their seating, and letting more businesses get liquor licenses. The limitations initially brought in to serve public health goals have now been lifted to boost business expansion. 3 Amazon delivery drivers are facing possible charges for allegedly stealing packages in Metro Vancouver. Mounties in Burnaby say Amazon itself identified the possible thefts. Officers searched the suspects' homes and found as many as 32 stolen packages at one site worth more than $2,000. Police say the men in their 20s were trying to sell the items online. They say there is nothing to indicate the thefts or the individuals are linked at this stage of the case. The Vancouver Canucks' #1 goalie in number and records is now in the Ring of Honor. The salute to Roberto Luongo and his message to fans after this. Hello to everyone watching our commercial-free live stream tonight. An 81-year-old goalie has made his mark on the Prince Edward Island sporting world. Gerard Smith was inducted into the Island Sports Hall of Fame in 2018. And as you're about to hear and see, Smitty, as he's called, is still going strong.
This is where you will find Gerard Smith twice a week over the winter. He spent decades in nets for many well-known island teams, including St. Dunstan's, Sandy's Royals, and the Islanders. Now, Smitty has been a goalie here at Noon Hour Hockey for 35 years.
I enjoy coming to the rink. It's my exercise. Good camaraderie with the guys. You don't get old by by playing. You get old if you don't play.
He was sidelined last winter with what he calls a freak knee injury that wasn't even from hockey. He says it was important to get back to the rink as quickly as he could.
One of the things in rec hockey and this type of hockey is goaltenders are at a premium, really. There's not a lot of them. And when you commit to it, you got to be here. And I like to think that I'm pretty loyal and committed.
That commitment has made him a role model for this group. Smitty was a teacher in Summerside for decades, so he actually taught or coached many of the people he is now playing with.
He was a phenomenal ball player, a phenomenal hockey player, but he gave back to the sports, and he coached. He coached everything from soccer, baseball, to hockey when he taught school and all that. He coached at every level, from minor hockey to junior hockey, and he just gave back.
Rick Morrison is also inspired by Smitty's play on the ice.
I think it's amazing. And to compete, the level that he competes at is much like a teenager would. He's up, he's down, he's making the saves, and there's nothing he hates worse than being scored on.
The players range in age from their 30s to Smitty at 81. They say they don't play much defense, so the goaltenders get lots of action.
None.
Well, that must make it harder for you.
Well, it makes it harder on the goalkeeper, but I mean, it'd be no good coming out here if you didn't get shot at.
A lot of times we'll chirp the other team and say, it's too bad you can't score an 81-year-old. He's telling us young fellas that age is just a number, you know, so his compete level is unbelievable. You know, we don't keep score on the board, but we certainly keep score in our heads, and, you know, for the full hour, you know, we're a pretty competitive bunch.
Smitty didn't actually learn to skate until he was 16, so he says he's making up for that now. He says he will keep playing as long as he can.
It's going to be interesting to see how long he goes. I mean, he's 81, you know. Will he hit the 90 mark? We're waiting to see.
Any time that you compete and feel good about your game and realize that when you left the field or left the rink that you did your best, that's a bonus.
Nancy Russell, CBC News, Summerside.
The Vancouver Canucks inducted former goalie and team captain Roberto Luongo into the Ring of Honor tonight. Luongo thanked the fans for his 8 seasons here and pushed the team to, quote, free the skate jersey. The ceremony was capped off with a dominating 4-0 win over the Florida Panthers. Luongo's other NHL team, fellow goalie Thatcher Demko, earned a shutout, made 36 saves. As Karen Larson reports, Luongo's return to town marks a remarkable career between the posts.
The Luongo ledger speaks for itself. Most wins for a goalie in Vancouver Canucks history, most shutouts, most saves, 3 times an All-Star, Vezina and Hart Trophy nominations, and of course helping the team get oh so close to winning the Stanley Cup in 2011. The love fans feel for Lou is real, and vice versa.
It's a huge, huge part of my life. Always will be.
Backstopping Team Canada to Olympic gold at his home arena is also part of the Luongo legend. So too is his hilarious alter ego on Twitter, Strombone, which Luongo at first denied he had anything to do with.
Can I ask you about your Twitter account, or am I just going to be shut down there?
I'm going to be shut down.
But now admits was key in helping him connect with the public and show a different side to his super serious goalie self.
It was just an outlet for me to be myself, and I think it helped me deal with a lot of these things. And people took a liking to it, and then one of the guys on the team, I guess, kind of let the cat out of the bag, and kind of blew up from there. So it was actually something that is pretty impactful in my life when it did happen.
The transformation with his sense of humor and the self-deprecating humor especially, and able to take some of the burden off his play with a sense of humor, I think was marvelous.
There's an argument that for all he meant to the team, the Canucks should be retiring Luongo's #1 jersey tonight.
There should be a debate whether or not it could be a higher honor, but as far as what he accomplished, I think he is the greatest goaltender in history. And when they traded for him in 2006, I remember saying, okay, they've done it. And when you think about when he arrived, that first season was all Luongo. I mean, Alain Vigneault was basically, his game plan would be like, okay, go Louis, you know, and he would win games.
Of course, it wasn't all shutouts and sunshine in his 8 years in Vancouver. Luongo did lose the starting job to Corey Schneider for a time, a major frustration.
Schneider, hey, grab some, man.
Oh, thanks, bud. I really appreciate that. It's really nice of you, I guess.
And inspiration for one of the funniest spoof videos ever made.
Little help here. Could use a trainer. Looks like Lewis starting tonight.
Luongo becomes the 8th Vancouver Canuck inducted into the Ring of Honor. 6 others, including the Sedin twins, have had their jerseys retired. Karen Larson, CBC News, Vancouver.
A grade 3 class in Kamloops is delivering kindness this holiday season. They're writing cheerful notes and distributing leftover Halloween treats in their community. Take a look.
Hi, my name is Tom, and I'm Olivia. My name is Oliver, and his is Jake. And we're part of a class that delivers all the kindness notes.
On Halloween, saw that people were not getting trick-or-treaters, and I thought, what can we do with all this extra candy that people have at their houses? And so I made a quick Facebook post that said, hey, my class would like to do some random acts of kindness around the city. So I drove around the city and picked up people's leftover candy, and then my class started writing. And they have written, I'd say about 1,500 they've written already, and we still have more to write.
Well, what we do is we write some notes with a little candy taped to them, and they have examples like, be kind, be smart, awesome, cool, be you, have a jolly day, be the reason someone smiles today. I hope this made your day and made mine.
And what was your favorite part about this project?
It feels really, really good inside you because it makes other people feel good. You get to go around handing out kind things, and someone having a bad day, it'll make their day because it definitely makes our day.
We have so much in the world going on right now, and it's really important for us to find the small things in life to be happy for, and ways that we can show kindness to others that can make people smile and make people have a good day.
There is a live shot of a either yellow or greenish science world. After a few more showers, we're set to clear up a bit here, at least on the south coast as we head into the weekend. Darius Madavi will have your BC-wide weather forecast right after this.
On this side, Dave!
Yeah, no, I was hearing him coming. Like
You heard him, eh?
Yeah.
The sun is setting, mercury dropping. Yvette Burritt's patience is thinning.
We're looking for my husband who's in the middle of nowhere trying to find his tree, our Christmas tree.
Dave! Yvette says you have to go home for dinner.
Burritt and her husband Dave Reed have been chopping down their own Christmas trees on Crown land for 7 years here in St. Rita, east of Winnipeg. They're not alone. While some are searching for Dave, for others, the search is over.
It's just a good place to come out and let the dog run around a little bit and, find your Charlie Brown Christmas tree.
Cost was a factor this year for Andrew Thompson. The permits only run for about $10.
We normally go to a tree farm, but we looked it up this year and it got quite expensive, almost double the amount. So being able to come out here and still cut down your own tree at a reasonable price is definitely sort of the influence.
That may be part of what's behind a surge in popularity. The province sold 500 permits a year from 2010 to 2019. That average jumped tenfold to 5,000 per year since 2020, when e-licensing was introduced. There are about a dozen zones on Crown land where you can cut down a Christmas tree with a permit. That includes 3 in the southeast. St. Rita is only 50 kilometers from Winnipeg. Permits allow 1 tree per household. Dave Reed set out for the perfect bushy balsam fir.
The sun, when it sets, you know.
Starting to get a little bit concerned for our friend Dave.
I am too.
Dave!
Oh, over there, eh?
Okay. He's covering ground. Okay.
This is crazy.
Does Dave always disappear for some undefined period of time and worry you like this?
No, usually we're together with the family, and they go in together to get the tree, and then he comes out, but he wanted to get something special this year.
Dave!
Did he find it?
Finally.
Okay, we're heading towards the truck. Your wife is very worried.
Yeah, I actually got lost in the bush for like 2 or 3 hours. And lo and behold, I found the tree.
The tree, the exact tree of your dreams.
Tree. Yes, except in all the whatever, I lost my saw.
Despite Dave's tense disappearing act, Burritt says this is what it's all about.
There we go. Perfect.
A family tradition, heading into snow-encrusted forests together.
Take care. Good. Merry Christmas.
Manitoba's tree permit program runs until Christmas Day. Bryce Hoy, CBC News in St. Rita, Manitoba.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and here's what's in your CBC Vancouver inbox.
For 37 years, British Columbians have been donating to food banks at CBC British Columbia's Food Bank Day, raising more than $18 million for food banks in BC. December 1st kicked off the annual charity drive and continues to the end of the month. We thank you for generously donating and supporting local communities in our province. Make the season kind and donate until December 31st at cbc.ca/foodbankday.
The weather update is brought to you by Direct Buy Furnace. To cool and clean the air in your home, call Direct Buy Furnace. Installing Trane, the most reliable heating and cooling brand.
Time for our BC-wide weather forecast with science and climate specialist Darius Madavi as we head into the weekend. What do we get?
We got a little bit of rain coming tomorrow morning, really just a quick burst of precipitation. Now, most models are calling for it. Environment Canada just has it in as a chance of rain, but if we take a look here, you can see that on the European model, it is coming just tomorrow morning, very briefly, early morning. Not many people will be up and about just yet, but we see it roll off pretty quickly and then continue to move north, meaning that for the South Island and most of the lower mainland, it's really just a quick burst of rain that should part by the time most people are heading out to work. And then as we continue to see this roll up, the North Island going to continue to get some significant rainfall as the snow starts to break into the central interior. And as this ridge starts to build up into the southern interior, you can see most of it stays dry, but the system does come back down on the other side of that ridge and hit parts of the Columbias. And you can see as well that the rainfall there did stick around the North Island for quite a while. So that's where we're expecting most of our accumulation. And as that snow continues to move down and this ridge moves further east, we see that system clear out. And for the most part, be a little bit drier in the Columbias as well. Now, you can see all that in the accumulation map. You can see that system roll down, particularly later in the 48-hour period. And then if we zoom in here, you can see that for the South Coast, it's really just the North Island that has something to not even worry about, but they'll see some significant rainfall. This model calling for around 50 millimeters for Port Hardy, could be anywhere from the 40 to 60 range, but parts of the North Island see some significant rainfall, but very little for the lower mainland and Victoria. Now, if we take a look at our temperature map, you can see that even though we have several Pacific systems gearing up to roll through, not going to look like too many significant swings in precipitation or winds or temperature. We're sticking pretty much a degree or two, adding a degree or two over the next few days, but staying around seasonal. Then if we take a look at our conditions map, plenty of cloud and sun across the board with a few places where we see that rain break in and continue later in the day. But for the most part, we're looking at some early morning showers again down here in Vancouver. So if we zoom in, you can see pretty much just that. Some showers here in Vancouver clearing up around noon, sunshine into Saturday, and then we see some cloud moving on Sunday, but still just a low chance of rain until we get into next week.
Sounds good. Darius, thanks.
Thanks, Dan.
And that is your late news for Thursday. Thank you for joining us tonight. For news at any time, check our website, cbc.ca/BC. Your next local news is on the early edition on CBC Radio 1 and starts tomorrow morning at 5:30. Have a good night.